Coming up, did the defense take a step backwards against Texas? We'll discuss coming up next year on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. Jay and I are going to have a fun time fighting tomorrow. So make sure you're tuned in for that, our Wednesday show. So, Jay, did the defense take a step backwards against Texas?
I think the defense took a step back in being in execution. But overall, no. Actually, statistically, they're still the top defense in the country by the numbers.
It's crazy. It's
the weirdest and the darndest thing. I wouldn't have expected it, but total yards per game in the country were number one at 211. We're still sitting there at passing game number 2 in the country at 126. Because remember, Arch only got 166 yards passing in this game. He didn't just dominate passing. He was hitting the passes he needed to hit, but he didn't dominate like people thought they did. When you looked at the score itself, 13-6 was really what the score was. It kind of reminded me of that 12-0 game that we played against Vince Young and them. It was the defenses were the ones doing all the work. The biggest problem for Oklahoma is they had 2 big busts that hurt them, was in that big drive, and then at the end of that big drive when they gave up the touchdown because the defenders forgot that they had to cover 3 dudes. You look over there, there's 3 guys, you talk to each other. Everybody needs to go ahead. If you see somebody running close to you, you probably should follow them just in case. But we didn't do that. It happens, and the players have already said they need to figure out the execution component of it. But scoring defense, we are also, we're number 2 right behind Ohio State, right? Rushing defense, we are number 10 in the country. So we're still giving up less than 100 yards per game on average, which quite frankly is still a good thing for us. And we still lead the country in tackles for loss. So we're doing the stuff that we're supposed to do. We've just got to make sure that the offense, as we said at the beginning of the season, contributes to the defense's work in the game.
Yeah. Oklahoma held Texas to under 4 yards per carry.
That's huge.
Yeah. Oklahoma held Texas to under 10 yards per completion. Arch averaged less than 7 yards per pass attempt. So they were trying to get the ball out quick, often early, and not let Arch be under
4
pressure a lot. Averaged under 5 yards per play. That's a pretty solid defensive effort, Was it good enough to win the game? It wasn't, unfortunately, but
it's supposed to, though, John.
Yes, absolutely right. It should have been. Should have been good enough to win the game. That's the thing I talked about in the live show in the post game was your defense gives up 16. You said 13, but I mean that's probably due to a short yard or a short field goal that Texas got, but technically they gave up 16 points. So that should be more than enough.
Speaking of that number, the game should have finished at 13-6 because I don't know if you saw this, but there was a tweet that went out today that actually John Hoover tweeted it out. Shout out to him. He tweeted out that Brent Venables mentioned that the team sent a nice letter to the SEC in regards to the situation. And guess what the SEC said? Yeah, that was definitely a couple blocks in the back. You were right. Yeah. So I am waiting for a very sternly written statement from the SEC about the officials missing that so that we can go ahead and have that balanced out, right? Again, I am not the type to complain about the officiating. I let everyone else do that for me, mainly because I am in the mindset of don't put yourself in a situation where you got to rely on those people that you know ain't reliable.
Yeah.
Right. It's like having that friend that, you call them to pick you up from the airport and they always somehow sleep. But they know that they need to pick you up or they know they need to do something. They just always, my bad. Give me a minute. Let me get there. They show up, but they're always late. And it's like, so what makes you think they're going to be on time this time? Why rely on it? So I try my hardest not to rely. I like my teams to do what they can to make sure the officials can't affect the game overall. Like, I get why Auburn and them are upset about our game as well as the Georgia game. I mean, it just keeps happening.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you had 32 minutes to win the game. You had 35 plus minutes to win in the Oklahoma game. That usually you should be able to close out the game. If that situation destroys your entire morale for an entire game, that's more so something look internally. And for us, it was at the end of the game they got that punt return. That's when you're like, well, we're donezy. We was already done, and that's when we was like, yeah, we're gonna have to wrap it up.
Yeah, that one was the nail in the coffin for sure. It wasn't going to impact it because your offense wasn't going to be able to do anything. Nope. I mean, even when you had to score because you were down 23-6, you still couldn't find a score. You got into Texas's side of the field and you couldn't find it. But on the defense, I still like where this defense is at. I need them to get a little bit better in coverage because, Gentry Williams, Eli Bowen allowed receptions on every one of their targets, according to Pro Football Focus. You got to get better. You got to make some competitive plays, some contested plays where you're, creating pass breakups, interceptions, incompletions, one way or the other. You've got to. You can't just give up receptions on every single one of your targets and then expect to win. That's just not going to work. So it's a defense that has to iron some things out. You're going to have a tough test against Lenora Sellers, who is one of the more dynamic dual threat quarterbacks in college football. And if you can't contain him, you're going to have a hard time winning. But I like the defense to bounce back, similar to what Texas did after their loss to Florida. I expect the Oklahoma defense to bounce back and have a better game. But they didn't even have a bad game. Again, it wasn't good enough to win because you didn't win the game, but it should have been good enough to win because they played winning football for the most part. You only give up 16 points, and that should be enough. But again, they made Steve Sarkisian respect them too.
Yeah, he made them work for it.
Yeah.
And that's what's important, is the fact that you did make them work for it. Mm-hmm. And they had to put together a whole new game plan to try to move things forward. And we'll see if Texas is quote unquote back, or if they continue to struggle later on. I mean, Florida was out there was able to do what they did to them, and then guess what happened to Florida next week? Forgot how to play football. So we don't think Billy Napier is going to be around that much longer.
Well, I mean, they had to play Texas A&M, and that Texas A&M team is pretty good, and Texas will have to play them. So Texas gets Kentucky this week, and then they get some pretty tough tests. Was it Vandy, and then who is it after?
So they got Vandy, Mississippi State.
They get Kentucky, and then it's a road game against a ranked team, and then it's Vandy at home. I had it in my head.
Here it is. They're traveling to Kentucky, and then they travel to Mississippi State back-to-back weeks. Yeah. Ugh, that's stinky. Then Vanderbilt comes to town right before their bye, and then they have Georgia, and they go to Athens for the Georgia game, and then they host Arkansas and Texas A&M to wrap it up. So, that one, to me, they got 5 straight SEC games. That Mississippi State game is going to be an interesting one, and that Vanderbilt one on November 1st. Ooh, buddy, we'll all be tuned in for that one.
Yeah, that one could be a lot of fun to watch. So I think we're both in agreement here that the defense is still in good shape. Got some things they got to clean up. Got to be a little bit more efficient in getting ready for a play because teams are going to try and use that quick game against you if you're not prepared. So we'll see how they respond moving forward.
Yeah, I would like them to stop screwing up these efficiency numbers. That would actually make me very happy.
That's right.
Because it's funny because Bill Conley's SP Plus over on ESPN, we're still number 6 on his numbers, right? As far as efficiency and the way that we play. The Stat of War guy, Parker Fleming, put out, did you really lose that bad? And it was this much. That was the margin. It wasn't a domination.
There was not a gap there.
It was really just defense on defense, and one team was able to make the explosive play to win it. And it's okay. When you, in hindsight, you're like, okay, but the problem is still, I get why everybody's upset. Not gaslighting, I get it. You got to score a touchdown. And we had opportunities to, and we didn't. That's on us.
Every time you got in Texas side of the field, you came up short, except for a couple field goals, and that was about it. The Oklahoma Sooners did get something positive, though, in the last week. Jacob Curry, 4-star linebacker commit, chose the Oklahoma Sooners. We'll discuss coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.